Today I, Opalescent, the booktuber, will be discussing all the best anime of the past decade because I'm just as eager to rant about animated TV shows, films, and shorts as I am novels, biographies, and poetry collections. There's a special guest joining me, Be More Brass, an actual AnyTuber, so we'll be hearing a lot from him too. If this video does well, I plan to do many more like it, so please show some support if you agree with our list or happen to enjoy our recommendations. Also, we'll be avoiding movies since there's just so much more to talk about. Without further ado, let's start with the year 2009. I didn't watch much from this year until later on because I was pretty young at the time, but a specific show that aired in 2009, the first anime I ever watched besides Ghibli movies, not only convinced me that cartoons could be more than mindless entertainment, but also introduced Kyoto Animation, my #1 favorite studio currently, to a lot of people. Wait, did it even come out in— Okay, we're good. So, Clannad After Story, the sequel to the critically acclaimed slice-of-life series that ripped my heart out and threw it in the dirt, coming back to destroy it more thoroughly. It follows the two main characters, Tomoya and Nagisa, as they graduate from high school and venture out into adulthood. Together, they struggle with jobs, health, confront personal issues, and learn the value of family. What made Clannad special was the lovable cast of characters, the members of the drama club, brought together by Nagisa, and their effect on Tomoya, a delinquent who purposely cuts himself off from the world and any ambition. Some people say it's boring or that it tries too hard to make you cry, but if you're like me and get way too invested in character-driven dramas, then give Clannad a chance. And once you're done, experience Clannad After Story, a masterpiece that amplifies everything that made its prequel unique and impactful.
2010 was a bit of a weird year for anime. Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood was hitting its climactic finish, Naruto Shippuden was smack in the middle of the pain arc and dominated community discussion, Fairy Tail had just started, One Piece only had about 400 episodes, and there was non-filler Bleach content. So with so much of 2010's memorable content coming from older shows, it makes it kind of strange to look at in retrospect. And what's better for a strange year than perhaps the most wonderfully strange show I have ever seen? The Tatami Galaxy is absolutely fantastic. Its art style is both surreal and beautiful, and considering it's directed by Yuasa Masaki, now of Devilman Crybaby and Ping Pong the Animation fame, it makes perfect sense. I personally think figuring out the plotline of the show is a lot of its enjoyment, so all I'll say is that imagine you've reached the end of your college days and regret how you spent them. If given the chance to go back and relive it, would you actually end up in a different place? The show itself may come off as confusing at first, and it has some lightning-fast dialogue, but the themes it covers and the way it all comes together is a sight to behold. It does this all while being one of the funnier shows I've seen, giving every episode its own relatively unique style. It also sports one of my favorite openings of all time. At just 11 episodes, it didn't have a ton of staying power in the decade, but I truly believe it's one of the finest examples of art ever made. Hunter x Hunter is one of the all-time greats. In a stacked year that gave us Fate Zero, Steins Gate, Madoka Magica, and Nichijou, Gon and Friends stand above some of the best shows ever created. Hunter x Hunter just captures a sense of adventure better than any other show I've seen, and is a shining example of what a shonen series can truly accomplish. What really made it stand out to me is that it's not just Gon's story. While he's the shonen protag, the show gives so much space for the side characters and even the villains to shine in every arc. It also quickly reaches an interest and maturity level that many other shows never reach, or at least need a time skip to. A show about a young boy who wants to become a hunter and find his dad quickly turns into a sprawling epic that traverses multiple locations and many heavy themes. Its fights are engaging, the power system is probably the most interesting and deep one I've ever seen, and it gave the world Killua, so this was an easy decision. While we can all sit here and argue about our favorite arc or scene, there is no argument that this is one of the best shows of all time. Now if we could just get more manga chapters. It's also got a lot of mention for anime of the entire decade, and for good reason. Hunter x Hunter is truly a masterpiece in every sense of the word.
2012 was a year I fell down the endless rabbit hole of seasonal shows never to return, but there's one particular series that means a lot to me to this day. The first collaboration between acclaimed director Shinichiro Watanabe and legendary producer Yoko Kanno since Cowboy Bebop, Kids on the Slope kinda sorta changed my life with this coming-of-age story about teenagers and jazz. The miniseries stars an introverted classical pianist who just moved into town for his first year of high school in the summer of 1966. He spent more time studying than he ever has trying to make friends, and so is prepared for another dull, lonely year, that is, until he meets the school's delinquent drummer. What follows is a heartwarming tale of friendship and love as our main character is inspired by those around him, and slowly begins to break out of the shell. It inspired me as well as a pianist. Seeing the group's wonderfully animated jam sessions left me with a kid at the candy store type gleam in my eye. The plot's not perfect, in fact, I felt it neared the edge of melodrama at certain points, but the overall message carries through just fine. Kids on the Slope is a love letter to jazz and music in general, and if any of this interests you even a little, please go watch it.
It is quite literally impossible to talk about the year 2013 in anime without mentioning Attack on Titan. Probably the most influential anime of the decade, Attack on Titan took over the anime community while it aired and even blended the general public at large. People who had never watched an anime in their life were following this show weekly. It very well may be the most hyped show ever, and somehow Attack on Titan still manages to deliver. I didn't actually watch it until 2016, so at that point I'd heard so much about it that I just assumed I knew what I was getting into. I then watched the first 13 episodes in one sitting. It provides horror, bombastic action, incredible animation, Levi, intrigue, heartbreak. It's one of the most enthralling pieces of media I've ever consumed, and as a whole, it's one of the best stories ever told. Even if it took until 2017 to get Season 2, the franchise has gone nowhere but up this decade, and Part 2 of the third season in 2019 firmly cemented it in all-time status. Even without all that, the first season was such a memorable moment in the anime community that it's really tough to even consider any other show here. I'll always have a soft spot in my heart for Trigger's Kill la Kill, as it was my first anime, but the reach and quality of Attack on Titan cannot be denied.
Anime is there to entertain you, to make you laugh, to impress you with its quality, to get you crying over fictional characters. Barak Amon takes it one step further and teaches valuable, applicable life lessons without being preachy. When young, talented calligrapher Sesshu Honda practically throws his career out the window by punching a critic, his father sends him to a quiet little island town for a vacation. A chance to cool down and reflect for his comeback piece, which would be peaceful if it weren't for the overly friendly locals barging into his new home. Honda is a narcissistic city boy who's hit a wall in his art and wants nothing to do with them, but as it turns out, there's a lot more to these country bumpkins than meets the eye, and he could learn a lot about community and the difference between success and happiness if he only learned to listen. Barak Amon is the go-to for laughs, lovable characters, and lasting themes, more than deserving for Best Anime of 2014. When I first watched One Punch Man, I immediately wanted to watch it all over again. Another show that came out at the same time, Snow White with the Red Hair, became a favorite of mine at the time and still holds up as a well-written historical romance. But One Punch Man is, no exaggeration, perfect in every way. You've probably heard it hyped to oblivion, so give me a minute and I'll hype it even more. Its story follows Saitama, a superhero who's become so strong he beats every opponent with one punch, and Genos, a cyborg who wants nothing more than to be his disciple. You'd think that protagonists like that would make One Punch Man boring, but no, actually quite the opposite. This show has a vast selection of dynamic supporting characters and villains, a fascinating world, great comedy, music, glorious animation, some of my favorite fight scenes of all time, and I think I should stop there or the whole video will be about One Punch Man.
If the first half of the decade was dominated by Naruto, then in 2016 My Hero Academia stepped in and filled the ninja-shaped hole in everyone's heart. Now close to the biggest anime in the world, My Hero started out with just 12 episodes in spring of 2016 and instantly stole everyone's heart with the beginning of Deku's journey to become a hero. Of the now 4 seasons of My Hero that have aired, the first one is by far the weakest, as it's a lot of setup, but there are so many scenes that just ooze emotional power that it won me over here. I truly love My Hero. The way I felt after the end of the first season is something that's impossible to recreate. It's just a show that makes you so happy that you watch anime, and it's a level of excitement that only the best shows can hope to touch. Sure, it's a shonen, and sure, if you break it down, you can find the archetypes and plot tropes, but when you just sit down and you watch Deku vs. Todoroki, or All Might Nomu, or United States of Smash, none of that matters. It's a show that just leaves you in awe. It's easily the leader for show that left me speechless the most this decade, and I look forward to even more My Hero in the 20s. Now, I am also contractually obligated to mention JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Diamond is Unbreakable, as I love Part 4 to death, and ReZero and Mob Psycho are good shouts here as well. But go to any convention and you'll see just how absurd the reach of My Hero Academia has become. And as it's never once let us down over the past 5 years, it's deservedly one of the top anime of the decade. 2017 was a spectacular year for me in anime, as Attack on Titan and My Hero both got second seasons, and my love for those series is already, well, documented. But amazingly, neither show was my favorite show of the year. That honor goes to Maiden Abyss, the first show to achieve the impossible and garner hype and attention while on Amazon Prime Video. I knew absolutely nothing about this show when I started it, other than it was atmospheric and it had a giant endless pit. After watching the entire show in one sitting, I'm still waiting for season 2. It actually does a lot of things I praised Hunter x Hunter for, despite not being in the same genre. It provides a spectacular sense of adventure and wonder, but also plenty of terror. Don't let the chibi designs fool you, this is a serious show, and has 2 of the most gruesome scenes in any anime. It just immerses you in its fantastical world from the first episode, and the soundtrack is some of the best and most fitting songs out there. Most importantly, it gets you to care about its characters right away, and provides some absolutely spectacular emotional payoff. It covers so much ground in 12 episodes, it's kind of insane that it's only 12 episodes long. Spectacular writing, spectacular world building, spectacular music, Maiden Abyss captures you and never lets go. Hopefully we'll get more substantial content soon, and it can be more than just one of the best anime of the decade, but one of the best of all time.
2018 was a year of surprises for me. A large percentage of what came out was either a solid good or great, depending on who you asked, of course, and there are plenty of underrated gems I could highlight. But Violet Evergarden, yep, another Kyoto Animation show, left me speechless. It's about an orphan child soldier who lost both her arms in war, and not knowing how to be a normal person, she finds herself working as a ghostwriter for those who are unable to write themselves, in an attempt to learn empathy, specifically the meaning of the words "I love you." No doubt you've already noticed how beautiful and gorgeous the animation is, and yeah, they really went above and beyond. But Violet Evergarden is a lot more than that. It follows a lot of different people, a lot of different stories and themes, but the character arc of the main character is kind of what drives the whole story. Just trust me on this. Please go watch Violet Evergarden. You will cry like a baby. If you're not into character dramas, again, maybe not for you, but give it a chance. And at last we come to 2019. From surprisingly well-handled originals like Carol and Tuesday, to adaptations of beloved classics like Fruits Basket or Dororo, to The Girl from the Other Side, a gorgeous 10-minute film that tells its story without words, it's safe to say this was a stacked year. I can already sense that a lot of people making similar lists to mine will put a certain wildly popular show at the top, but for my list, I'd like to give the spotlight to an underwatched masterpiece. A lot of manga fans were worried when this adaptation was announced, but once it became clear which studios, the same people behind Attack on Titan, would produce it, they switched to hyping it up for us non-manga readers. Little did I know just how good Vinland Saga would be. The plot follows Thorfinn, a young boy in Iceland, who ends up joining the band of Vikings that murdered his father in hopes of getting revenge. I find it really interesting that the characters in this story are based off real historical figures, but yeah, this is a historical drama, so no surprise there. When you think of a perfect adaptation, you think of something like Vinland Saga. It carries through on the manga's themes perfectly, it has great music, the animation in battles as well as in peaceful scenes is great, actually. And it tells the story of Thorfinn and the world around him, which happens to be prologue so far with season 1, very well, even improving on some things, especially with the final episode. I can't say much without spoiling it because this show is just better going in blind, but prepare yourself for a thrilling historical epic. And that is our list for the best anime of the past decade. If you're looking for more videos like this, go subscribe to Be More Brass. Seriously, this is more a passion project than anything, and thanks to him, it turned out better than it would have if I had done it on my own. So watch his videos, links in the description. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next week with a normal book-related video.